What do you mean she told her the seaweed wrap cures arthritis? Franklin Mays blinked, still holding the towel in his hand, frozen outside the treatment room door. He hadn't meant to eavesdrop. He was just trying to tidy up the hallway like he was told to as part of his first day training. But now he stood completely still, listening to the low voices inside the room. Yeah, the woman continued. I told her it boosts circulation, kills inflammation, and helps detox the joints. She booked 6 sessions. Franklin's stomach dropped. 3 days ago, he wouldn't have believed someone would lie like that just to make a sale. But after what he'd seen in the last couple of days, he wasn't sure anymore. The spa chain hadn't always been like this. Franklin's father built it from the ground up, starting with one cozy wellness studio in Colorado that his mom ran at the front desk. When his parents passed away 5 years ago, Franklin inherited all 5 locations. He kept the same mission they lived by: comfort, honesty, and care. But lately, something felt off. A few bad reviews online, a couple of refund requests flagged by accounting, and one complaint about a customer being pressured into buying a cellulite reduction package she didn't ask for. Franklin didn't trust the district manager's polished explanations anymore. He needed to see it himself, so he shaved his beard, dyed his graying hair darker, wore thick glasses, and called himself Kyle. He applied through a temp agency that the company used for short-term help. The location he picked was in Northgate, a quiet suburb, with the lowest staff turnover, which made it seem like things were running fine on the surface. He'd never met anyone at that location personally. None of them had ever been to corporate, and they only knew him through the occasional newsletter or old photo. With his disguise, no one batted an eye. Kyle. A sharp voice snapped from behind him. A woman in black heels and a tight bun came around the corner. Why are you just standing there? Franklin quickly straightened up. Oh, sorry, I was just waiting to see if the room was done. That's not your job, she said. You're not a therapist. You clean, you stock towels, and you shut up. Got it? Got it, he said, keeping his voice calm. Her name was Marla. She was the manager of this spa, and from what Franklin had seen so far, she ran the place like a drill sergeant. Staff flinched when she walked past. He'd seen her raise her voice at her receptionist over a typo on a sign. And now, apparently, she was fine with false medical claims being sold as services. Franklin went back to the laundry room and sat on a crate. His legs felt heavy. He had always trusted his managers to protect the company's values. But now, he didn't know who to trust. And worst of all, he saw something in the eyes of the younger staff, fear mixed with exhaustion. Like they'd stopped expecting anyone to stand up for them. The only bright spot so far was Elise Ramirez, a massage therapist who had trained him briefly on his first day. She was soft-spoken but kind. She showed him how to fold the towels properly, even though she was running behind on her appointments. And when he accidentally spilled a bottle of oil on the floor, she helped him clean it without saying a word to anyone. That afternoon, Franklin watched from the front as Elise helped a guest at checkout. The woman looked confused. Wait, I thought the deep tissue was included, the guest asked. Elise smiled gently. No, it's a little extra. But if you weren't told that clearly, I can adjust it for you. Oh, thank you, I appreciate that. Elise nodded, then walked back toward the hallway. Franklin followed her discreetly, then caught up near the break room. Hey, he said. That was really nice of you, what you did for that customer. She looked surprised. Oh, thanks, it's not their fault if they weren't told right. You always do that, he asked. Try to be fair. Yeah, doesn't always go over well with management though, she said, looking away. He wanted to ask more, but Marla's voice came down the hallway again. Elise, you're behind. Get to room 3 now. Elise gave him a small smile, then hurried off. Franklin leaned against the wall. Something was seriously wrong here. It wasn't just about bad upselling, it was about pressure, fear, and people being pushed to do things they knew weren't right. He needed to stay longer, see more, and find out exactly how deep this went. Franklin stood outside the break room, pretending to refill a stack of eucalyptus-scented towels as he watched the clock tick toward closing. His second full day undercover had been slower, but not any lighter. The energy in the building was off, like everyone was just trying to survive their shift without making waves. In the morning, he'd been assigned to clean the hydrotherapy suite, a job that sounded more glamorous than it was. The space hadn't been deep cleaned in weeks. Mold had started to collect around the jets, and the water line on the tiles was stained a dull green. He brought it up quietly to the lead technician, a woman named Tanya, but she just shrugged. They don't give us time for deep cleans. Marla says appearances over maintenance. Franklin didn't respond. He just kept scrubbing until the bleach made his eyes sting. Now, as the last client left and staff began to reset for the next day, he noticed Elise sitting at the front desk, massaging her hand. Her knuckles were red and her shoulders were slouched. She'd had back-to-back appointments all day, including a couple that ran long when clients showed up late. He walked over and set the towel bin down beside her. "You okay?" She didn't look up right away. "Ever get to the end of a day and feel like your bones are humming?" "I've felt that," he said gently. She sighed. 14 appointments today, 2 were supposed to be 30 minutes, but Marla extended them without telling me. Said it would help the location hit numbers. Franklin raised an eyebrow. "She can do that." "She does. Some clients don't even know it's just tacked onto their time. Then we're stuck squeezing lunch into 5 minutes or skipping it altogether." He didn't say anything, just nodded and started restacking the flyers on the counter. Elise hesitated, then turned toward him. "You're new," she said, "so maybe you haven't seen it all yet. But just watch who gets the easy shifts. Watch who gets written up for being a few minutes late while others get away with skipping half their job." He looked at her. "Like who?" She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "Lana, she's Marla's favorite, comes in late, leaves early. She's not even certified for deep tissue but gets booked for it because she connects with high-end clients. I corrected one of her bookings once, and Marla pulled me off the schedule for 2 days." Franklin kept his expression neutral. "That's a lot." She gave a small, tired laugh. "Yeah. Just don't get on Marla's bad side. She controls the schedule, and around here, that's power." Franklin didn't ask more. Elise had said enough. He grabbed the towel bin and headed back to the laundry room, his mind heavy. Later, as he folded sheets beside the rolling racks, he overheard a conversation between 2 estheticians, Nadia and Claire. They didn't see him behind the curtain. "Did you see what Marla told that woman today about the collagen booster fixing sun damage?" Claire chuckled. "That's not even how collagen works." Nadia shook her head. "She made the woman feel like if she didn't buy the full series, her skin would accelerate in aging. I felt sick. She called me in last week and said my numbers were behind," Claire said. "Told me to start recommending aggressively. What does that even mean?" Franklin stepped out. They both froze. "Sorry," he said quickly. "Didn't mean to sneak up, just grabbing more pillowcases." They relaxed slightly but didn't say anything more. He didn't push. He just took his stack and left. The next morning, Franklin arrived early. Elise was already there, setting up her room. She looked exhausted again, but she smiled when she saw him. Morning, he replied. "You always open?" "Usually." "Lana's scheduled for opens sometimes, but she never shows before 9. He nodded like he was just making conversation, but he watched. At 9:30, Lana finally waltzed in, sipping an iced coffee. No uniform top, just a crop hoodie and leggings. Marla was at the desk. Franklin waited to see what would happen. "Hey, sorry," Lana said breezily. "Traffic was hell." Marla didn't flinch. "No worries, just head straight to room 2. Your client's been waiting." No mention of the uniform, no reprimand, no write-up. Franklin gritted his teeth. He turned away and went to restock the clay masks. Later in the afternoon, a man came in for a couple's massage. His partner had booked it and wasn't with him yet. Franklin checked him in at the front desk while Elise was finishing a session. The man looked around, clearly impatient. "Is it always this? Casual here?" Franklin smiled politely. "We keep it relaxed." "That one over there," the man said, nodding toward Lana. "She's doing a consultation in yoga pants." Franklin didn't answer, just typed something into the screen. 10 minutes later, Marla came out and pulled Elise aside. Franklin listened from his post behind the partition wall. "I just got an earful from the guy in Suite 1, Marla said. "He said the place looks unprofessional." "I'm not sure what that has to do with me," Elise replied. "He mentioned you by name, said you didn't greet him enthusiastically enough." Elise blinked. "I checked him in, I was polite." "Well, be more than polite next time. Smile, engage. You know how to act when guests are evaluating us." Franklin stepped out. "I actually checked him in," Marla turned. "What?" "I did. Elise wasn't even at the counter yet." Marla narrowed her eyes, but before she could say anything, a loud crash echoed from the back. One of the techs had dropped a glass steamer. Franklin took the opportunity to slip away before the confrontation escalated. That night, he stayed late to help the closer sanitize the sauna benches. The employee, a quiet guy named Marcus, didn't speak much. But as they worked, Franklin noticed his limp. "You all right?" he asked. "Yeah. Just tweaked my knee last week. Slipped in the wet hallway. I reported it, but HR said it wasn't logged properly, so I'm not eligible for sick leave." "Did anyone follow up?" Marcus shook his head. "Marla said I should have been wearing different shoes." "But they're the ones the company provides." Franklin felt his jaw tighten. "You working full shifts like this?" "Yep. Can't afford to miss hours." When they finished, Marcus limped out to his bike. Franklin watched him go, then went back inside and sat down in the empty lobby. He stared at the front desk's sleek marble, soft lighting, a vase full of orchids, and felt a wave of shame. None of this was what his parents built. It wasn't just about bad behavior anymore. It was systemic. Incentives were being twisted. Loyalty was being punished. And the people who were trying to do the right thing were being worn down to nothing. He pulled out the small notebook he'd been keeping in his locker. He began to write names, incidents, timestamps. Not just what he saw, but what needed to change. Then he underlined one phrase, full audit. Immediate, tomorrow he'd make calls, but first he needed to see what Marla did when she didn't know anyone was watching. One more day. That was all he needed. Franklin stayed late again, hiding in plain sight. The spa had technically closed nearly an hour ago, but Marla remained in her office behind the frosted glass door, lights still on. Everyone else had gone home, except for the overnight cleaning crew that would arrive later. Franklin wiped down the last of the product shelves and waited. He kept quiet, moving slowly, listening. The sound of a drawer sliding open caught his attention. A moment later, the door to Marla's office opened, and she stepped out with her phone pressed to her ear. "No, she won't say anything," she said as she walked past him toward the back. "She needs this job. Just make sure her commission looks normal on the books and don't let corporate see the comped appointments. Yeah, same method." Franklin stood still, a bottle of toner in his hand. She disappeared into the staff hallway without noticing him. He waited a few moments, then quietly slipped into the office. Inside, the desk was cluttered with sticky notes and printed receipts. A clipboard sat half buried under an open binder. Franklin scanned the pages tracking sheets, sales goals, therapist conversion rates. Every employee had a name, a column, and a percentage. Elise's numbers were circled in red ink below it, a handwritten note. "Too soft. Push or cut hours." He pulled out his phone and took a photo of the page. The next morning, he arrived earlier than usual. Elise was already in the treatment room preparing her table. He knocked gently before stepping in. "Got a minute?" She turned. "Yeah," he closed the door behind him. "Don't say yes, but if you were pressured to sell something you didn't believe in, what would you do?" She hesitated. "Depends. If I pushed back, I'd probably lose half my shifts." Franklin nodded. "And if you stayed quiet, then I'd live with it," she said. "Like everyone else here." He paused. "What if someone was watching, someone who could actually do something about it?" She squinted. "Why are you asking me this?" "I need your help," he said. "But I can't tell you everything, not yet. Just trust me for one more day. Can you act like nothing's changed?" She didn't answer right away. Then she gave a slow nod. "All right." Franklin spent the rest of the day shadowing Lana. He signed up to assist with product prep, which meant she couldn't object to him being in the room while she restocked oils and serums. He kept his eyes open and his mouth shut. At noon, she took a client into the aromatherapy suite. Franklin followed with the supplies. The client, a woman in her late 60s, asked if the lavender oil would help her sleep better. Lana didn't hesitate. Absolutely. And if you pair it with our scalp detox, it'll clear up any neurological congestion. Franklin blinked. Neurological congestion, Lana waved him off. It's a buildup of stress hormones in the scalp. Detoxing it resets your brain's sleep cycle. The client looked intrigued. Really? Of course, Lana said. Just ask at checkout, I'll make sure you get the wellness rate. She turned to Franklin. Go prep the masks. He left the room and walked straight to the front desk. Marla stood behind the computer. Client in Suite 4 just got told a scalp rub will detox her brain, he said. Marla didn't look up. You're not here to evaluate treatments, just do your job. He leaned in, voice low. You're risking a lawsuit if that woman has a condition and thinks we're treating it. Now she looked up. Is that a threat? It's a fact. She stepped around the desk and moved close. You don't get it, do you? This place survives because we know how to sell. People come here to feel better. If we don't give them that, they go somewhere else. At what cost? She narrowed her eyes. You're a temp. You don't get to ask that. Franklin didn't respond. He walked away and went straight to the locker room. Inside, he unlocked his bag and pulled out a blue folder. Inside were copies of the employee schedules, commission logs, and treatment recommendations, everything he'd gathered over the last 3 days. He took one last look, then zipped it shut. By 4, the spa was packed. Walk-ins had tripled. Because of a last-minute email promotion, Marla had approved without checking if enough staff were available. Elise had already worked through lunch, and 2 other therapists were double-booked. Franklin stepped in to help wherever he could, fetching hot stones, refilling lotions, folding sheets. Near 5, a woman in her 40s approached the desk, visibly angry. I specifically asked for a therapist certified in prenatal massage, she said. I just got pushed and prodded like I was a lump of clay. My back is worse than before. Franklin moved toward her. Let me check the schedule. Marla appeared from the back. What's the issue? The woman turned to her. You assigned someone unqualified. I'm pregnant. That's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Marla smiled tightly. You signed a waiver, and your therapist has hands-on experience. The woman stared at her. That's not the same as being trained. Franklin pulled up the schedule. Lana had taken the appointment. He turned to Marla. She's not certified for prenatal work. Marla's voice dropped. Neither are you. Stay out of it. The woman stepped back. This is unbelievable. Franklin reached into his pocket and pulled out his company badge. I'm Franklin Mays, he said. I own this spa. The room went silent. Elise, mid-step down the hallway, stopped cold. A receptionist dropped her pen. Marla's jaw tightened, but she didn't speak. I've been undercover here for 4 days, Franklin said. I've seen enough. He turned to the woman. I'm so sorry for what happened. We'll refund your service and cover any medical care you might need as a result. You deserve better. She nodded slowly and left without another word. Franklin faced Marla. You're done here. Clean out your office. Marla crossed her arms. You don't understand what it takes to run this location. We hit targets. We move product. You also lie to customers, intimidate staff, and put people at risk, he said. This isn't negotiable. You're being terminated immediately. Security will escort you out. She opened her mouth, but he raised a hand. I have documentation of everything. Don't make this worse. She stormed toward the back without another word. Elise approached, still stunned. You're really him, he nodded. I had to see it for myself, and you've been the only person here trying to do the right thing. She looked down. It hasn't been easy, I know, he said. But that ends today. He gathered the staff in the break room. No speeches, no theatrics, just a clear statement. Marla is no longer with the company. There will be a full audit of scheduling, commissions, and training. Anyone who was pressured into unethical sales will be given amnesty. If you've been underpaid or pushed to violate standards, you'll be made whole. Someone asked what would happen next. We'll bring in an interim manager from outside the region, someone with no ties to this team. and we'll rebuild this place the right way. Another voice asked if it was too late to fix the culture. Franklin answered plainly, "Only if we stop trying." The room stayed quiet, but something shifted. Heads lifted, shoulders eased. For the first time in days, he saw more than fatigue in their eyes. He saw relief. After everyone returned to work, Elise stayed behind. "What would have happened if you hadn't come?" she asked. "I don't want to think about that," he said, "but I'm here now. And I'm not leaving this place to rot from the inside again." She looked around the room, then back at him. "We'll hold you to that," he nodded. "Good, I want you to," and he meant it. Rain tapped softly against the glass as Franklin stepped into the spa the next morning, not as Kyle, the temp, but as himself. No glasses, no cover story. Just the owner of the company, walking through the front door for the first time in over a year. The lobby felt different already. Quieter, calmer. There was no forced enthusiasm, no tight smiles stretched across tired faces. Just a few employees preparing the front desk and treatment rooms in a kind of cautious rhythm, like they weren't sure yet if they could trust what had happened yesterday. Elise stood near the product shelf, organizing the new deliveries. She glanced up, then gave a small nod. Franklin returned it and made his way to the back office. The interim manager was already there. Franklin had flown in a trusted director from another region, Lori Hensley, someone known for rebuilding teams without theatrics or shortcuts. She was reviewing the staff logs when he walked in. "How's it looking?" he asked. She didn't look up. "Messy but fixable." He pulled out a chair. "We can't afford to lose people, but we also can't carry anyone who's part of the problem." Lori flipped a page. "Two therapists gave notice this morning. One said the pressure to oversell made them feel like a fraud. The other didn't want to be part of another corporate rebrand." Their words. Franklin nodded. "Let them go. If they don't want to be part of this, I'd rather they leave now." She set the folder down. "I've done a full staffing audit. You're running at 70% of what this location actually needs. That's why people are skipping breaks and doubling appointments. They're not lazy, they're drowning." Franklin leaned back. "How soon can we staff up?" 3 weeks minimum. "I've already reached out to the other branches for cross-coverage. I can bring in 4 licensed therapists for partial shifts starting Monday. Do it, and pay them premium rates." She raised an eyebrow. "That'll cost you." So would losing the good people who are barely holding on. In the hallway, Elise was showing a new arrival where the linen carts were stored. Her voice was steady, but her posture was tight. Franklin stepped out to meet them. "This the new hire?" Elise turned. "Yeah." "This is Jordan. He's from the Midtown branch. Lori said he'll be picking up 5 shifts a week." Jordan shook Franklin's hand. "Didn't expect to meet the owner on my first day," Franklin smiled. "You'll see me around more. We're changing how this place runs." Elise glanced at her watch. "I'm doing sweet too. Mind if I leave him with you? Go ahead." Once Elise left, Jordan looked around the hallway. "She told me this place had a rough few months." Franklin crossed his arms. "That's accurate." Jordan hesitated. "I only took the shifts because my branch is overstaffed. But if I'm being honest, I almost turned it down. The things I heard." Franklin didn't interrupt. Jordan continued. "They said the manager here, Marla, let her favorites coast while everyone else got squeezed." "That true?" It was. "And that she let people fake credentials to book premium treatments." Franklin nodded. "Also true." Jordan exhaled. "Then I'm glad I came. I'd rather help fix something than run from it." Franklin patted his shoulder. "That mindset's what we need." Lori came down the hall holding an envelope. "We have an issue." Franklin followed her into the office. She opened the envelope and spread out a series of printed emails. Found these in Marla's old inbox. She had a side deal with a supplement vendor. They were paying her under the table to push their collagen boosters and herbal patches during facials. Franklin scanned the emails. She never disclosed this. There's more. She wrote up Elise twice in the last quarter, but those write-ups never made it to HR. She kept them in a private file and used them as leverage. Blackmail, basically. Franklin's jaw tightened. "Give this to legal." I want every client who bought those products refunded, and I want a statement sent out clarifying that we don't endorse anything that isn't clinically vetted. Lori nodded. Already started. Franklin leaned against the desk. What about Lana? She hasn't shown up today. Franklin checked his watch. She was scheduled, supposed to start at 10, no call, no message, then she's done. He didn't hesitate. I don't care what she brought in. If she's part of this culture, she's out. Lori didn't argue. Outside, Elise was wiping down a treatment table when Franklin stepped into the room. She looked up, her expression unreadable. You've been quiet today, he said. I'm waiting to see what actually changes, he nodded. Fair. She replaced the linens, then paused. Was any of this about money? No, he said. It was about trust and how easy it is to lose it if you stop showing up. She sat down on the stool near the counter. I almost quit last week. I had the email drafted and everything. What stopped you? She looked at him. I didn't want to leave something I used to be proud of. I just didn't know if anyone else still cared. Franklin sat across from her. I didn't know how bad it had gotten, and that's on me. She didn't respond right away. He continued. I can't fix everything overnight. People are going to be tired for a while, but no one's going to be punished for having integrity again. That ends now, she nodded slowly. Then I'll stay. The next few days were a blur of transition. Lori restructured the schedule to ensure minimum rest periods between shifts. Every treatment room was checked for compliance, no unapproved products, no unlicensed services. Staff were offered one-on-one sessions to report concerns directly to her, anonymously if they preferred. Franklin stepped back from day-to-day operations but didn't disappear. He came in 3 times that week, sometimes just to sit in the break room and listen. He didn't wear a badge, didn't make announcements. He just made it clear he was paying attention. On Thursday, Marcus walked in with a knee brace and a new pair of non-slip shoes. HR followed up, he said to Franklin. They're covering the medical and they're fixing my missed hours. Franklin nodded. They should have done that without being asked. Marcus shrugged. Still feels good to be seen. By Friday, the mood in the spa had shifted, not dramatically but noticeably. There were fewer whispers and more conversations. Employees started showing up a few minutes early, not because they were afraid to be late, but because they wanted to settle in. At the end of the week, Franklin gathered the team in the lounge. I won't give a speech, he said. But I will say this. If something's broken, tell us. If someone's being mistreated, speak up. We're not building a place where fear keeps people quiet. He looked around the room. And if you ever feel like this company is asking you to choose between doing your job and doing what's right, choose what's right. Every time, we'll back you. Elise raised her hand. And if someone doesn't, then they don't belong here, he said. Not anymore. People clapped not loudly, not theatrically, but with quiet conviction. Afterward, as people filtered out to finish their shifts, Elise stayed behind. One more thing, she said to Franklin. You asked me to trust you, I did, he nodded. And I'm glad I did. She walked away without another word. Franklin looked around the room one last time. The orchids at the front desk had been replaced. Someone had brought in fresh ones from a local shop. Small, white, and real, it wasn't fixed, but it was beginning. And this time, he wouldn't need to go undercover to know what was happening. He'd be here, watching, listening, and showing up.